Okay, so that's the pre-worry stage. The next stage is what's called the interaction stage. Now, again, by this stage, they've heavily bought into the illusion of low social value, and they've also suitably prepared themselves by anticipating ahead of time all the horrible things that could possibly happen to them when they actually go out and socialise. So they've pretty much set themselves up to have a rather unpleasant experience during the actual interaction itself. Now, during this stage, lots of things can happen, but usually people say that they feel nervous, more nervous than normal, on edge, anxious, can sometimes be severely anxious, or even under threat. That's usually the way they describe it. But really all they're saying when they're telling you they're under threat is that they're under threat of their social value, that they feel that there's a potential for something to happen that would cause a significant drop in their social value and social worth. Another thing that happens is that they all of a sudden start to grossly distort the information that's right in front of them. All of a sudden, innocent comments are perceived as criticisms, and jokes can become personal slights on their character, and really only just further evidence that everyone hates them and are not good enough to be there in the first place. Now again, this just simply isn't true. It's only because they've bought heavily into the illusion of low social value, and they've set themselves up during the pre-worry stage, and they've made it so that they can't relax in the ways that they would like to and behave in the ways that they want to. Okay, so that's the interaction stage, and finally we have what I call the post-worry stage, which is the last stage in the cycle. Now, oh, by the way, I'm using the terms worry for this model, but I'm aware that some people will have different terms. That's fine, that's okay. I'm really just using the term worry to illustrate this model, to illustrate the cycle. Okay, so we have the post-worry stage. Now, what happens here is the person starts to reflect negatively on the social event that they just experienced. And again, because they've bought into the illusion, because they have anticipated things going badly, and because they've felt anxious during the interaction, they begin to grossly distort the way that they reflect. Usually what can happen is they'll go back and they'll start to pick out all the things that they think went badly, and then amplify them or exaggerate them, and ignore all the good stuff as well. They tend to do that. They just, all the good stuff, that never happened. It's almost as if it didn't happen. And again, this just fuels the illusion of low social value, and then the fact that they were never good enough in the first place anyway because of all these things, and then the whole cycle starts again. Now again, if you've ever done this before, then just realise that this is complete ludicrous, that to go back and pick out all the things that you think went badly, exaggerate them, and then ignore all the good stuff it's not accurate, it's not useful, and you're simply not being fair on yourself. So you want to stop doing that. So you want to stop doing that, but you want to begin to do the opposite. And this kind of leads me on to what I want to briefly talk about now, and that is what's called the social confidence cycle. Now, the social confidence cycle is kind of the opposite of the social anxiety cycle, and it's what you want to be doing instead, because it's one thing to stop doing something, it's a far more useful thing to put something else in its place, and that's what you want to do with the social confidence cycle. Now, the first step is to see past the illusion of low social value. Just because you don't fit into someone else's criteria about what is valuable doesn't negate the worth and value that you have as a person. So you want to see past that as often as you possibly can. The second step is to replace pre-worry with pre-enjoyment. Instead of anticipating things going badly ahead of time, start imagining them going well. Begin to see what you would see, hear what you would hear, and feel what you would feel if things were going just the way you want them to. Now, chances are they won't go exactly the way you plan, but you will certainly be in a much more upbeat, much more positive frame of mind when you actually go out and socialise. Step number 3. Learn how to develop feelings of confidence in the moment. Now, this is easier said than done, but it's one of the most useful things that you can learn. My own personal preference is NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which in my opinion is by far and away one of the most powerful and useful ways to do this. But you really want to spend some time finding some ways where you can develop feelings of confidence or feelings of relaxation in the moment so that you can experience them when you're actually socializing. Step number 4, you want to replace the post-worry with the post-enjoyment. Rather than reflecting and blowing all the negative stuff out of proportion, you want to reflect and focus on the things that, first of all, you did well, and secondly, the things that you would like to improve on for the future. By doing this, then you're using each experience as a platform for your future learning. If you want to go a step further, then you can imagine a time in the future and what it would be like when you're already having these improvements in place and you're behaving in the ways that you would like to, feeling the ways that you would like to, and interacting with people in the ways that you would like to. Okay, and of course, fifth and finally, learn some new cutting-edge social skills. Generally, people who are socially anxious, because they don't go out their way to speak to strangers, to speak to new people, then they've kind of been left behind a little bit when it comes to social skills. So one thing I would recommend is find someone who you know who's very skilled when it comes to socializing, and model them. You know, just watch them, just listen to the way that they interact and begin to learn from them. That'll help you improve in the quickest possible time. Okay, so that's the end of the social anxiety cycle and a brief outline of the social confidence cycle. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want some more free stuff and you want to find out a bit more about what we do, then go to the website at www.guidetosocialconference.com.